Hello again, everybody. We are looking at, well, it's first of all, it's Tuesday, November 22nd, um, 2022, and we are looking at NQ on the left. We're going to expand that here. And this is a mix between the trade and perform algo signals along with some of my own signals that I've added, like the squares, the diamonds, and a couple of the other lines and stuff like that. Any of the zones here are taken from the profile and they're color coded, like such as low volume nodes, previous like naked POCs, anomalies, single prints, things like that on the profile. So if you see these zones, that's what those are. But the actual the chart itself is a Renko chart. And so what that basically means, if you're not familiar with it, is you can see up here it's 24 ticks. And what that means is you need 24 ticks in the same direction to print a new bar. So after it closes bearish, if it goes 24 more ticks, it'll close another bar bearish. To reverse, you need to retrace those 24 ticks and then go another 24 ticks in the other direction. Right, so you can change the size of each bar, of how much range you need the market to move to print a bar, and that will change the speed the bars are printed, and give you more bars or less bars. So for instance, this is an example of a 16 tick Renko chart, so it'll have more bars, but it's looking at the same price action here. So if you look at the low overnight, well, I guess it's kind of hard to see because it's right at the voodoo range level. I've got it marked here at 11,534.25. We traded below the voodoo range level, and we got a purple bar with a blue arrow, right? So on my algo, the blue arrow is a sign of a bullish momentum shift. It's not always a buy signal, but when the market flips from bearish to bullish, or after a retracement in a bullish market, you will often see these show up near the apexes. Then the purple bar is a sign that buyers are pulling their orders from the order book, but there's no, and so price is falling, but there's no follow through, there's no aggression into the to the downside. So sellers are not aggressively adding to their orders or pushing through any big orders or anything like that. It's just price falling primarily due to orders getting pulled from the order book. So it's I sometimes call these bars ghost bars or spoof bars, because what you'll see is when you've got a really fast market, you'll see them show up, and then basically get retraced immediately. So it's like price went there, but it didn't really belong there, and so price immediately retraces back. And then whether or not you find buyers here is really the question for whether or not you're going to get a reversal, right? So when we have what we see, the green here, these are single prints, and so there were single prints right before the open on Monday. There was a little, like a gap, basically. I guess I have to go pretty far back. One way or another, they're both little small gaps, right, in price action. And when the auction makes these gaps, where either they trade through it quickly or they jump over it completely, either one of those, if they just trade through it right away, like if you go through here and then you come back and you can't get through it again, eventually the market's going to want to come back and make sure that that there's equilibrium there between buyers and sellers, or actually in this case it's the lack of equilibrium. So what happened here is the opposite. It went up, right? And now we're coming back into it. That's what happened overnight. So yesterday we got a bounce, and then overnight we came back into that low, which was here. And we went under it into Sunday night's price action, I believe it was. It's basically the weekly low, right? Underneath the weekly low. And what happened was we visited the voodoo range level that's right below it. See that? And remember, I share these levels on the weekend before the week where they're useful. So we had the level 11.534.25 like last week. Like I gave it to you on Saturday, but I had it calculated already based on last week's numbers, and it's going to be valid all week, as well as 11.579.50 and all the rest of them. When we see the market come through these single prints or these gaps, and then try to get behind the voodoo range level, but all they can get is a purple bar, and then immediately we get a response back in the other direction, that is often the end of that rotation, right? And so you can see that a lot of times as these rotate down, when you get a purple bar that's immediately followed by an up bar, you'll get a retracement. Now, if the purple bar is followed by another down bar, it's not ready yet, right? But once it's followed by up bar, you get a retracement. Purple bars followed by up bar, you get a retracement. Purple bar followed by up bar, you'll get a retracement. So that's normal, right? The inverse of that is the pink bar. These are the ghost bars or the spoof bars on the upside. So price is rising because sellers are pulling their orders, but there's not really any buyers being found, nobody aggressive following through, and so you usually get a reversal. So if you're bearish, pink bar immediately followed by a sign of aggression like a diamond or a star is a good place to sell. An orange bar or a yellow square are also signs of aggression or momentum, and so pink bars followed by those bars are also pretty good sells. So that's a simple little if you're not familiar with the algo, that's how most of these patterns work. Is you need multiple signals to happen in a certain order for them to be meaningful. So here, pink bar followed by orange bar, pink bar followed by yellow square. See how all of these produce rotations to the downside? That's how that works. Okay, so once the bears start having success, see, sometimes it doesn't work. Pink bar followed by orange bar gets beat before it works, right? So sometimes, especially the sell side, it doesn't always work. Here, pink bar followed by star gets immediately rejected. When you see this rejection, that failure to continue lower, you need to look and identify where you are on the chart, because this level is probably important. Well, this 11.579.50 was a voodoo range level, so it makes sense. And see how you had a purple bar sneak underneath it, but they couldn't get any further, and then they get a big sign of aggression to the upside here? That's probably a low. See that? They just can't get a bar underneath it. And as soon as they get to the voodoo range level, they get a bounce, right? It doesn't mean it's the low of the day, but whatever we're doing here, it's probably the low of that period, right? Now in this case, it came up to this. It went one voodoo range higher, 45.25, 45 and a quarter points higher, ran into 11.624, and then reversed with pink bar, orange bar, and a arrow. Notice these aren't always good sells, right? But when they come in these combinations that we already know of and we see it, it adds confidence to it. Like here, adds confidence to it. Now this one went slightly higher and then fell, but and then this one too. This would add confidence. It went slightly higher but did go lower. So it's basically a sign that the bears are trying to push price lower, and then you need to see some aggression to take action on that. But it's like an early warning that momentum is trying to shift. And so the best setup with those is when you get one, and then you get your pattern, and then another one. It's even better if it's on a lower high for a bear or a higher low. So here, what we really wanted would be this blue arrow to be down here, and then to get a higher low with a blue arrow. That would be better. That's your best case scenario. But those, like I said, that's how you use those. They also act as pretty good support resistance points. So for instance, this and this are going to be the support and resistance for this area. Now they can get under it, but once you get under this, it becomes resistance. See that? Once you get under this, it becomes resistance. So another way to use these is if you know that not every yellow arrow is going to be a good sell, but that once you get under them, coming back into it and getting a signal to sell is going to work really often, right? So for instance, on the inverse of that would be, we got a blue arrow. Okay, now, again, if I can use that as support and get a buy signal, it's going to be a better buy signal. So once you get this, you get under this with basically just a purple bar. See how all the volume is wherever the yellow line is. So this one got a little bit under it, but then it was purple bar, and so this one is probably a pretty good buy, and this one is definitely a good buy because you got another arrow, purple bar, green bar, buy, right? So it can add some confidence to your levels. And then another way to think about this is you can just mark them off as they come and say, so if I'm here and I'm bearish, but I don't know when to get in, I can say, okay, now that I've seen this, I might not want to sell it now, but if I can return to that area and get a rejection like that, it's probably worth trying. Now this time it didn't work until the second try. In fact, it took 3. Oops. Took 3 tries here. Now on the short side, that happens. And the third one works. And then it comes back up. Again, the first one doesn't work, but the second one does. Right? So you know that that's the location that you need to hold if you want to be bearish. Now the important thing is once you get above it, now here they didn't close a bar other than a pink bar above it. So here it's not bullish yet. And now they've rejected. So now it's bearish. And now rejections out of there would be expected to be sold. And then here, once you've gotten under this, now you can get under this and it can be bearish here. See? So you can use them in both directions. But that's how those work. So anyway, overnight, we get underneath the voodoo range level, we get that sign of momentum shift, and we get purple bar, green bar with the volume anomaly indicator. So I wasn't up at 2:40 in the morning, but if I was in London, that was a pretty good buy. The other thing we look at is see how there is bullish divergence here, right? And then on the volume waves, we have a big volume there. This volume wave is big, so that's the impulse move. Then we have a second one that's smaller, and a third one that's smaller, right here. So we really don't want to be getting long until you've had this third one. And now long signals should start to work better. Now the first one didn't work, but the second one worked great, right? Another thing I mentioned today, signal-wise, is this orange bar followed immediately by green bar. That takes a ton of energy. This move that follows it takes a ton of energy to continue, and it's very common for that to be the final exhaustion phase. And if it ends in a pink bar and then it's followed by a sign of aggression like this is a really solid short. See that? Pretty cool. So like I said, you learn these one at a time and you start with something easier to read, but I've built on it because I've been doing it for more than a year and adding signals as I learn it and master them, and eventually you just start to see them without having to think too much about what they mean, but I can explain them because I think it's helpful to understand. So, like I said, we got to the low, went under the voodoo range level, we got the purple bar, suggesting that buyers are pulling their orders, causing the market to sell off. But we got no more aggressive sellers below it, and in fact, we got an aggressive buyer, and so that's your buy there, right at the low. We got this momentum shift here, right? And then when that tires out, we get a short. Where is it going to go back to? Usually back to this. Because that's where the momentum shifts. See this arrow? That's where the momentum shift happened. So usually you're going to go back to that area. And because we've been breaking these apexes to the upside, we generally want to be looking bullish. And this is our first entry bullish. Not just because of the star, but because we've got an apex here. And if you draw a line on that apex and then look to the right, we got under that apex and then immediately trapped back inside. So that's your next long. And that works great, right? So like had I been trading London, I'd have 3 trades in a row and I'd basically have already hit overcome my goal for the day. Like London trading is good, usually. It's really good. You just need to be able to be up at that time. But it's good. Here we get a trap to the downside. Right at the voodoo range level. So see how we traded above this. And then the very next bar, we trap back into it. They don't always work to the short side. But when it's at location, and when either one of them have a volume anomaly, these purple or pink diamonds, it works a lot. And again, it doesn't always work. This one would have failed, indicating it's very bullish. And we could have already told that, right? But that's a valid sell. You have to take it a second time if it happens again. See how this is the exact same setup? No. So see how this one also has, it's hard to say because the voodoo range is there, but see how this one also has, well, I guess that's a previous volume area high. This one also has the pink. So if you took this one and it failed, you'd have to take it a second time. You just have to. Like if it doesn't work the first time, it's usually going to work the second time, and you'll make the stop back. That's how, it doesn't happen as often on the long side, but on the short side, you get these little hiccups pretty often. Which is one of the reasons why a lot of people in the room actually don't even trade short anymore, because the longs just work so often that you don't really need the short. Okay, so now this is the open, right? So that's all pre-market, right? Now remember, these guys are stuck down here. These shorts from overnight, from the London session, are stuck, right? And you can see we took them out here. So the lowest one is here, right? So we're going to mark from this apex to this apex. And that is our likely, and then see how it lines up with this momentum shift, right? That is our support. That's the support. If you're bullish, you want that to continue to hold. We got the setup here, the trap back in with the star and the diamond. It's great, right? And so it makes sense to now come back and retest this. So there's the open. They don't quite make it, so I wouldn't touch that. There's really, like, this is the short. I don't see another great short, honestly, other than that. Okay, now we trade back into it. See that? Purple bar, promising. Goes right through it. Support gets broken. Right? Back to the voodoo range level. And we get a bounce. Okay, now I don't have a way to buy that, personally. I do not. Because this is not purple. If this one was purple, I could. I technically can't buy that. And that's why, because it sometimes doesn't work. So we go a little lower, and now look what starts to happen. We get underneath, and we get all these wicks, and then the down bars are purple. Wicks, down bar is purple. Down bar is purple. Wick up. So what's happening here? Again, price is dropping, but it's dropping because buyers are pulling their orders, and then buyers are responding aggressively. Price is dropping as buyers stop buying. There's no sellers, so price rises, right? So they're testing and probing under the voodoo range level that's so important, 11, 5, 34, 25. We confirmed it was important back here, right? We knew that it's activated because we tested under it and found buyers. We knew that was important. And look what they do when they come into that level. They buy, they buy, they buy, they buy. Right now, I don't personally have a great way to pick which one of these we want to purchase because none of them trapped. What I wanted and what I would have done is see these little arrow, these little flags on the bottom. If we would have traded under one of those and then immediately traded back up, I would have bought it because that's pretty much long any time. To be able to buy purple bar followed by a green bar, or a purple bar followed by an arrow or a blue, or any of these other signals, like what we call a 2-bar combo, you need to believe it's bullish. And you really would have had to been analyzing carefully and identify the location to think that, you know what, we might be absorbing here. This could be bullish. This was the sign that momentum had shifted, is the arrow there. And then the volume, the purple bar volume anomaly is the pink there is pretty strong. We saw it work back here, right? Same exact 2-bar combo. This one just had the arrow on it, but it's got the purple bar followed by the green bar with the pink or purple, whatever, pink, I think, arrow, diamond above it, right? Right there. So that's your aggressive entry, and I skipped it. Why did I skip it? Because I wasn't confident that this was going to hold. And what I really wanted was one more push down underneath one of these to then see if they buy it. And it just, if you look, it missed it by ticks below from overnight. It just missed it. And I wanted it a little lower, but it just didn't happen. They made a higher low instead. So once you start getting higher lows, and especially if you are breaking these apexes on the upside, you can start turning up. I need to start turning up the aggression to the upside because the chances of a big impulse move up increases. So what I can do is see there's an apex here, so I can mark it off. Then there's an apex here, mark that off. And then there's an apex here, I can mark that off, right? If any of those get broken and closed above, like this, right? That's the first one that really does it. That makes this purple bar followed by pink diamond or purple bar star, any of these 2-bar combos, like this is perfect, but that makes that a really strong buy. And that just explodes, right? Now, unfortunately, I have a rule that I'm supposed to not trade in the first 30 minutes. I can break that rule, but I need really solid evidence to do it. And like I said, I really wanted just a little bit lower. There were people in the room taking this trade, and they did great, right? And I could have made the exception, but I didn't. I was conservative here, and I didn't buy it because I didn't accept that we weren't going lower, and I wasn't ready to take responsibility to take a stop on my first trade. And I figured, you know what, it's still in the first 30 minutes. Let's just wait. It's holiday trading. It might be pretty choppy. Let's just give it a chance, right? And it just kind of took off. Now the good news is right there we all knew, okay, we're not shorting, right? We got to be bear. We got to be bullish because they're breaking apexes to the upside and they're failing to even test below any of these apexes. And that's bullish. So all the 2-bar combos like pink bar, orange bar, pink bar, diamond, pink bar, star, all of those are out the window. Can no longer aggressively trade short. And I can now aggressively trade long. This one is a pretty aggressive trade. It's arrow down or a triangle down followed by green bar. It's valid, but I didn't take it because we were trading into a low volume node. And we had closed a pink bar above it. And I got in my head that was potential, and it was a voodoo range level. And I was like, this could potentially be resistance, and it might be my chance to buy back down here. So let's skip this one. So I did, and it continued to work. It continued to go higher, and my frustration level increased, right? And so now we have, again, another aggressive short signal that I totally ignored, rightfully so, because it's not bearish. You can see that doesn't do anything. I don't really have a long signal here by itself. These blue squares are not good enough. You need two of them to be parallel to each other to be good enough. I'm curious if this and this are good enough. I think that's good enough, but what I really want is for two of them to exist within a 3-bar series. So I wanted this to be blue and then get a down bar and then another blue up. But instead I got blue and then an up bar and then a down bar and then a down bar and then a parallel blue one. I have to look. I'm going to look. I'm going to see if this might be just as good. Because if it is, that's really powerful. And then I also don't know if it's just a little bit higher, if that also might be okay. I'm not sure. But you can see if you have direction wrong, yellow and yellow is the same, and that does not work, right? Because direction's wrong. So it only works, it's a momentum trade. It only works if you're trading with momentum. But I'm wondering if this and this together, even though they're a couple bars apart, might make this a buy, or at least make me think it's probably bullish, making this one a pretty strong buy. So something I will watch. But anyway, I would normally not just buy this by itself, but it does work this time. So we come down here, we see this little rectangle with the green extension. That is a sign of a heavy volume seller in the market, and that's relative to what we've been seeing in the day. So it will be, if there's low volume in the day, it won't take as much volume to print those, but it's still relevant. Those can become support resistance pivots after we overcome them, and they tend, I believe, to act as magnets until we test them. So what you can see is we try to go lower, right? But they get a purple bar, and then it immediately comes back and retraces into that green area. I don't have a signal here, but I am wondering, when you have a big bullish move like this and you're breaking apexes over and over again to the upside and making higher lows, I am wondering, once you put in this high volume seller, if you immediately get a purple bar followed by returning to that area, I wonder how often that actually produces an extension. Now, this one, it stutter stepped and then it went, but this may be good enough for a scalp. I don't know. I have to look into it. So that's something I'll look at. Like I said, this is technically a sell, but it's bullish, so I skipped it. But that's valid. And then this is our first trap back in, and it's the only one all day that stopped. It just didn't do it. Everything was valid, everything was good. It just ran into resistance. So the only way I avoided this is I was watching the volume on the way to the wave to the high, and I saw that we got under that. And so as soon as that happened, I knew, okay, we've got volume, we got buyers at the highs, and they're potentially trapped. So I should cool off on the buying and wait for this to trap another seller. So I skipped this one, but it would be easy to buy that on accident. Notice here we've got, once again, the parallel yellow bars, but they're not 3 bars apart, and it works for a sell. So I'm really wondering, if you get the direction right, that may be a decent signal. Okay, it comes back and it traps back in. I should have bought this. This is a trapped seller, right? A star down at the very bottom, and then it traps back in to this apex and closes bullish. See that? If I put an arrow or a line on the bottom of this, we got under it and immediately come back to it. That should have been a buy. I skipped it because we were at the previous day's point of control, but that shouldn't actually have mattered today because, first of all, it's holiday trading, right? And second of all, I had already identified that we were in a bullish trend, and that rule is primarily for balance days, that you would expect choppy trading around the point of control, but it's technically a higher low on a bigger time frame in an uptrend move. So this should have been a buy. A bunch of people in the room took it. I skipped it and felt pretty stupid about it, right? So all of a sudden, like 2 hours have gone by and I haven't gotten a single trade. And I'm just like, damn, like I just wasn't aggressive enough, right? I didn't take the opportunities as they came, but got aggressive here Nope. Here, the trap. So it trapped again, and that one worked. I believe this is the one I took. If it worked, it is. So it, whoops. So it got underneath this little apex, printed a purple bar, and immediately came back up and had a green bar, which is a sign of a volume shift higher. So that gave me 10 points, and I was finally on the board with something, you know. It trapped short, and I took this short. And the reason I took it short, it was a little bit aggressive, but once, here, let me erase the lines and you'll see it. So this is the high, right? But the previous high was here. This one, right? So on the previous high, you can see that we had volume down here at the low. So it wasn't ready to sell off yet. Volume was at the low of that rotation, meaning that all buyers had to do is hold that level and we're good. And they can hold it by printing a purple bar below it and immediately trapping back in. That still counts as holding. I know it technically printed prices below here, but there's no aggressive sellers taking on the market underneath that level. And so as long as it's bullish, they'll, as soon as you get this, it's still technically fine. Now, once you make another high, if you have divergence, and you can see here, we do, this goes up, a higher high on price, a lower high on the MACD histogram, tells me that potentially there's some exhaustion there, and then it trapped back in to this apex. Whoops. With the second yellow box. See that? So that was good enough for me to take the short. It was a little bit risky because I was trading into the volume of this. See here, another way to think about this. Let me redraw this. I'll show you. So on the way up, if you look at this, on the way up, if we measure the volume of that move, that volume is way up at the top, right? So what bears need to do to turn this around is they need to aggressively sell under here and then trap these buyers, right? Well, they tried to get under it, but they got a purple bar, which is not aggressive, and so they retraced. And then they try to get under it again. This time they got this bar, and that one's not purple. And if you extend this line, you'll see that the yellow dash here, where all the volume is below this high volume rate. So here I'll draw it like this. If you look at the actual profile, right? The volume point of control is the pink, but look where all the volume is. It's up here, right? We got volume below that on a bearish bar. See, this is where the volume is. Wherever the yellow line is, where the volume is. We got volume below it. So even though this was still fine to buy, if they reject that area in the future, those buyers are trapped. So I bought this, and then I was comfortable selling flipping as soon as we got this. Because, like I said, we got a sign of aggression indicating that these guys are trapped. So it was a little bit aggressive, but it worked. And I got 12, 13 points on it, something like that. Then it flipped, and I got another long. Purple bar, green bar with a diamond, long. Like in a bullish position like this, that is fine, even into resistance, because you can get 10 points more often than not. Okay, now you can see we set up this same exact setup again. Yellow, this is the opposite of this here down here. We had blue, and then immediately above it, it's got a little bit of a stutter step, and then it prints another blue one. See that? The inverse of that, when it's bullish, that's a good buy, I believe. Now, I didn't take this trade, but I saw it and thought about it because we have, like I said, I took this one. I took this one back long to get, so 10 or 12 and then 10. And then I saw, oh, we got a yellow bar, yellow box, We traded below, made a stutter step, and put another yellow box on a lower high. And I was like, you know what? I bet you that's a sell. Now, I didn't do it, but look how it worked. And it printed yet another one, gave you another chance. And look at where it got. Look at that. Like, that's a decent move, right? So I believe when they stack like this, even if there's there's movement in between, when they stack like this, or when they line up like this, parallel, that can produce a nice scalp that I'm going to keep looking for. But I do believe it needs to happen at resistance, and you need to have trap buyers above you. Like, if it happens down here, it's not really resistance. See? So if this next one is yellow, it is. See how this is stacked? But now you're no longer at resistance, you're at support. Right? So your target's like this. Why would you enter here short? Right? So you have to know, like, not just that momentum is to the downside, but you also have to know that you're at resistance. The easy way to do that is to make sure that your entry, if you're shorting, that your entry bar touches this top channel. On the Trade and Perform, it's these two lines. And if you're buying, it should be touching these two lines. That's the easy way to do it. To think about it, but technically, if you know where resistance is, you can draw it horizontally too. So you could say, I have trap buyers. Let's see, the trap buyers are here. So this, or this, those are all good scalps. This one is too low, and you don't get enough risk reward, and then this one's way too low, right at support. So you need to kind of be aware of like what the structure is before you hammer away at these momentum scalps, like these boxes, because the little squares are for momentum only, and they're only for a scalp. They're just anticipating that that's going to be an apex for a little rotation. But this one was an apex. See, it did work. It's just it didn't go anywhere because it ran into support. Right? So it's one thing to know what the signals mean. It's a whole nother deal to know when to use them and to get good at not just like clicking sell every time you see a yellow box, but instead like analyzing as you go, being like, okay, I'd be willing to sell here. Here's the area I want to sell out of. This is my target. Now I need the signal, right? So anyway, that's how that worked. But I did not take this. I took this one and got out and then got long and then I skipped this, but I could have gotten short again. But like I said, I was waiting for the longs. Now, what I should have done is I wanted to buy this and I didn't, but I should have. It's valid. It's an apex trap. You see how that's the low? We traded under it and we bounced right back up, but we didn't have a purple bar here and I didn't get a signal of aggression and I was nervous about the trap buyers, so I skipped it. It would have been fine. It would have worked. Some people in the trade room took it and you got 10 points and you could have gotten out of it. And it didn't even stop out. And if you would have held a runner, it continues higher. So that would have been sweet. So instead I'm up like $300-400, but I could have hit my target right there. Then, so what I was waiting for was for this one to get taken out. I wanted it to come down and bounce. But you'll see what happened here is we ran into the voodoo range. So these dashed purple lines are important levels, especially for the mean reversion algos that control the market when institutions are not trading. And you can see that they got a VPOC, a yellow line underneath it here, and then bounced. And so I thought it was going to be bearish. But then, and like here, see they only got a purple bar under it, and so they immediately rejected. Here they got the yellow bar on a bearish bar. Yeah, got the little yellow dash on a bearish bar underneath it. I thought we were dead. I was like, this is going to pull back to at least here. I'm not going to buy it. Instead, they did reject it. But look, they couldn't get this yellow line back to the voodoo range level. So there was a buyer passively absorbing here, and he trapped these guys. See, this is an aggressive seller. It's got the star, the box, and the red diamond. 3 signals of aggression. So somebody tried really hard to sell this, but you can see that they only had success because buyers pulled their order. It's purple. Look where the VPOC is. It's way at the high. As soon as volume dropped, buyers responded. The pink bar says sellers pulled their orders, and it was over. Basically, sells only worked for this 50 minute period. After this, sells all stopped working because they trapped these guys. So this one got trapped, and then this aggressive trader got trapped short, and that was the end for bears for the entire day. Right? And if you look, you never, on these apexes to the downside, whenever you traded under them, you always got a response back up. Traded under it, always got a response back up. Right? So we had signs that there was a buyer in here slowly absorbing, and I knew it, but I wasn't aggressive enough, and I didn't have an indicator here. I can't just buy the blue boxes by themselves. I need a sign of aggression, but I'm wondering if a higher low with a blue box might be good enough if there's a trapped buyer behind it. In other words, a trapped seller, sorry. So a yellow star followed by a blue box at support may be good enough. I don't know. I'm going to watch for it. But on a higher low like that, that might be good enough. So anyway, it takes off. And so I decided somewhere around here to start the stream, the live stream. And I was up on the day, but didn't quite hit my target. And I was like, I don't really want to be aggressive. So let's just do a stream. We can turn this into an educational opportunity. And if I get a great setup, great. Cool, right? So it came up to this voodoo range level and rejected. I knew not to short because we don't want to be bearish when there's shorts trapped. And what I really wanted, once again, was to come back into this area and get a bounce. And what I said in the stream was that typically you get one of two, in a bullish trend day, you typically get one of two things to get you higher. You either get an immediate pullback that finds buyers at the 38.2% point that then rips higher. In other words, this one is the apex that then goes higher. Or you try at the 50 and it fails, and then they save the 61.8. Usually it's one of those. Today, it was not either of those. Today, what they did is they chopped around at the 50% point. They trapped under this guy for just a point or two and then took off and shifted momentum higher. So see how we have yellow arrow, blue arrow? That becomes a pivot. Oops, I didn't mark that right. This whole range becomes a pivot. So getting over it is going to be bullish, and getting under it's going to be bearish. So I could have bought this, and I said it on the stream. I said that's a valid buy, but I'm up on the day and I don't want to give back, so I'm not going to be aggressive. Which was in retrospect wrong, not just because of the results, but because if you look next to it, I had more trapped sellers here. Aggressive sellers coming in at the low of this consolidation here, and then they snuck underneath it slightly and closed back bullish with this momentum signal, the arrow. That should have been enough to get me long, and I just wasn't paying close enough attention to the nuance, and I hadn't caught this. I hadn't caught on that this seller was going to cause the market to have a hard time to get back into this zone. This seller is going to act as like a force field, basically. And they're not, he's going to become a buyer, and he's anytime the market drops even near this area, he's going to become a buyer. And so I honestly thought that we were going to come back in here and I shouldn't have, because that when we take off like this, the lowest we should expect is probably this apex. And if you look, it got really close to that. Now, the other nuance here that I missed, we talked about it in the stream, but I didn't pick up on what it means, is if you zoom in, we had a very strong, at the time, a relatively strong delta. You can't really see it here very much now, but this red box here, this red rectangle, was like protruding pretty significantly. It was the biggest sell, the most aggressive point where anybody sold of the whole day. We had more contracts sold at the bid at 640 than we did anywhere else the whole day. And when that happens, what I'm thinking is they are trapped. I know that, right? I know this guy is trapped. And if I look back at where he's trapped, he got trapped back here. I made that too big. He got trapped back. If you draw that line, 4150, I guess it is. He likely got trapped here, or more likely here. That's where he sold. So he sold there. Price is above that, meaning he's off sides. So now what I probably should do is mark that off as likely support and buy signs of aggression out of that area, which would be that or that. Any of these would technically be okay to buy as long as I put my stop down here underneath him at like 39. So if the stop goes down here, I can buy any of these, I think. Like I said, I'm going to have to look into it. We're going to look in a minute. Yes. So anyway, that was a great location that I did not take advantage of. If you look here, we got another little rectangle indicating there was a big seller in that bar. Those are usually pivots, but they also act as magnets. So in the very next bar, when we come back into that area and we immediately bounce from it, and then we get a big delta here, it's hard to see, but at 653.25 or so, there was at that time, a relatively large delta. Later on in the day, we got bigger ones. That's why it doesn't look like much, but that blue rectangle was protruding quite a bit. And that, even there, would have been a sign that this buy was valid. It confirms it. So if I had bought here, I could actually add there. And if I didn't buy here, I should have been buying there. Is my thinking. And because it would be okay now to be aggressive, given the fact that there are trapped sellers under here, and we've come back into that aggressive sell point and found a buyer, and we're now above it. So if it was a magnet, that magnet has already done its work, and now it should act as a pivot. So yeah. Now there wasn't any what's it called, divergence here. But the other thing I could have done is I could have jumped down to the smaller time frame. Now this is a little harder to see because everything happens faster, but it was such a slow day today that I could have been trading on the 16 tick. And had I been trading on the 16 tick, what you'll see here is a much better looking scenario. So here, what we have, trap seller, extension, right? Look where volume is, to the high, way up here. And then look where volume is on the way off the high. The way off the high is here, and volume is there. I need to be bearish, and to stay bearish, we need to keep price below the lowest one of these two. You can see that we got price below it here, so I want to be cautious there. But when we trap back in here and close back up high, that should be a buy, because that's rejecting that sell, and now these guys are trapped. So on this time frame, since there's more information, it might have been more clear. Also, if you look on this time frame, you had repeated attempts to shift momentum higher, these arrows, right? Which on its own isn't necessarily bullish, but when we try to sell off and they can't, and instead you get a bullish momentum move back into that potential pivot, it's probably a sign it's going higher. And then when it does go higher, you get another one. See that? You get yet another sign of a momentum shift confirming that it's going higher. So if you're still not long and it pulls back into that zone like that, you can actually buy it. And if you didn't buy it there, you can buy it here, because now you trapped this guy too, right? So there's just more opportunities on the smaller time frame. And what's really cool is these stops are pretty small. See, let's say you could okay, here. So for the bigger time frame that I usually trade on, the long is confirmed here at 59.50. The stop has to go down here, 1 point below the low, so 43.25. Let's say 43.50, just so I don't interfere with that low volume node that it pulled back into. That's where your stop has to go. So 16 points, right? Pretty big stop. Here, it's quite a bit different. It's only one bar, so if you bought this one, your stop is in the same spot, but you could actually get in at 53. So you've only got a 10-point stop here. And even if you got the late one, your stop goes 1 point underneath this, so 49. And okay, that one's still 11 points, but still not that big. So you could probably get in a little bit later and still be like confident that you're not risking a lot. And so that might be the way to deal with these situations where I have to be more aggressive. Now, like I said, I did identify that this should be a pivot, and I knew that if I came back into it that I'd want it long. It just took off. It did not give me an opportunity to get back there. And so my thinking at the time was, I know this should be a pivot, and so therefore I want price to come back there to get me long. And I then saw all of these sellers coming in at the highs. And if you measure the volume here, the volume on this move up was all at the high. See that? All the volume was at the high rather than at the low. So usually when that happens, the potential for a rollover is increased. I could have been aggressive and sold this just to try to get all of these green bars retested. So the lowest green bar is right here, the green extension, 84.50 or so, just above that green line. So that would be my target. It's not much of a trade, but it would have worked, and I could have held runners a little bit further. Look how close I got to getting that entry, and it just didn't happen. Now, had I not measured this volume and seen this as potentially bearish, I probably would have bought this here, but there's no signal on this time frame. On the smaller time frame, there was a star, and so I could have bought it. And I said that live. I was like, oh, I could buy it, but I'm not going to. The star shows up 1 bar too late, and now I get the short signal. Now the thing is this volume on the wave down was down here, and you could, if you look really closely, that pink line is below the volume point of control. Really close, but it's at or below that volume point of control. So that bar doesn't count as being below there's nobody trapped yet. Purple bars also don't count as having people trapped. And so I need, again, a bearish bar that's not purple to close with a VPOC below this pink line, and it doesn't happen. And so in retrospect, I shorted this, and I shouldn't have. Because even though we got VPOC to that line, we didn't get a bar that's not purple closing with a VPOC below it. So it wasn't a valid sell like I thought it was. I thought it was a valid sell. I sold that, and then when I saw this, I knew it was going to work. I pretty much knew it wasn't going to work, because that should be a long. Any high or low with a volume anomaly is usually a long in a big trend up market. But I was focused on the fact that there might be trapped buyers up here above all these heavy sellers. And so I was like, well, if this holds, it's bearish. And so as we approached it, I added to my short with like a tiny, tiny, tiny risk of like 5 points. And if you see, we put in a big delta here as someone they bought like 4,000 contracts at 11,700. And so I was like, you know what, this might just roll over, and it just didn't. Instead, they put in a big seller, and it just popped. So I gave back like 16 points plus 5 points. So it was like 21 points of my gains from earlier. I gave back, putting me red on the day. Whereas had I just focused on the long, like I should have, I might have missed this one, but I would have taken this. And if you look, it works just fine. Look at that. Just explodes, right? So it shows getting fancy and trying to catch the top just because we're at a naked VPOC and we got a little volume below the highs, and I got a sign of aggression. If it's not bearish, it's not going to work. It's just going to keep floating higher, and I knew that, but I wanted the trade to work, and I was getting antsy about the fact that I wasn't getting triggered into trades. Had I just waited 2 more bars, I would have gotten a great long, and I could have gotten long and held runners, right? Now notice here they try to sell this bar as they break through here. That's what these green lines are, these big sellers, and they can't even come back to test them again, which is super bullish. And then it happens here again. They sell a bunch of this and they can't get back to it, so you just hold that, you hold those longs. It happened here as well, and then finally they pull back. So this is where you exit your runners, in my opinion. You could technically sell that, but it's pretty aggressive. Now, again, you could go through the same process and see if you trapped any buyers by measuring to the high. No. So all of your volume is in here. So you'd have to get a bearish bar that's not purple to print with a VPOC below that pink line, and that just doesn't happen, right? We get another higher low with a volume anomaly, which is technically a buy, but it was aggressive because it was at the end of the day at the high day, and I didn't take it, but it works. Then you trap down. Now look, you had bearish divergence again, and you trapped off of this apex. Now this time, the big sellers came on a down bar after a pink bar. Here they came on after a pink bar, but on an up bar. This one was on a down bar. Notice you have a absorption of buyers and an absorption of sellers on the same bar, which is weird. But it's the end of the day, so weird stuff happens. And so you have a bunch of big sellers there, and now you're under him, right? You're under those sellers. But it's not bearish, really, until you can get price and volume below this 11,716. It would make sense for this big green area to act as a magnet and to get a retest of that, but it also makes sense for this green area to be a magnet. So what might happen next, if I had to guess, is we may come up here, trade through this, and notice we traded right to the voodoo range level. 11,760.50 is almost the high day. It missed it by like a point, right? So it might come up here and tag that, and then after that come back down here and turn this whole area into a balance zone. That would be my guess. On the smaller time frame, you could go through the same process. You have a high here, right? So measure volume to the high. So on this time frame, oops, we have, and then you have to measure volume off the high, which is what I forgot to do before. So assuming this is an apex, assuming well, even if they don't now because they've gotten it under it, they've gotten a bearish bar with a VPOC of that bar underneath both the wave to the high and the wave off the high. This is the sign that it could be done. We could be getting some kind of a retracement now. Now it's possible. So what do I want to get short? I want it to come back up and reject with a sign of aggression. An orange bar, a star, a diamond, a yellow square, anything like that would be a short. Notice here when it's not bearish, parallel yellow boxes do not produce a sell. So it's really important that those momentum signals are not taken against the trend if you're trading with this algo. But also notice that any of them that show up with the trend result in pretty immediate extensions. Sometimes there's a stutter step. So this one still works at the apex, but I wouldn't have taken it, although it was a trap. But notice how once it's bullish, this gets a little stutter step, but it does continue higher. So I'm wondering if you trap underneath one of these and come back up with a sign of aggression, I wonder how often that's a good signal, even if it's not an apex. I'm not sure. But again, that's another thing to study. So let me just look back here. So here's another one. With the trend, immediately works. With the trend, immediately works. So once you get the trend right, and then here the trend is down, so this doesn't work. On this tiny time frame, the trend is now down. If you see, this is a lower high. So now you can't take the blue one, but you can take the yellow ones. Because they're momentum. It's momentum trading. Okay. That's a great trap that I think I missed that one. Okay. Bullish. Blue box gets your 10 points. Is it a great trade? No, because you're trading right into resistance, but it works. This momentum shift arrow potentially can trap buyers up here. Notice this one's purple, so it doesn't count, but once you've gotten a VPOC under that, now bear trades should start to work. So let's see, is that there? That should be a short. Yep. So if you do it right, you can do this on any time frame. Look bearish. Yellow boxes are sells. Again, you learn these one at a time. You don't try to do it all at once. You slowly add to the system. But when it's bullish, the blue ones work. This one failed. Straight up failed. And then that one fails because it's still bullish. So why did this one fail? Do we know? Or is it just, I mean, obviously nothing's going to work 100% of the time, but what was different about this? Okay, we didn't trade below the volume. That wasn't it. No, that's not the problem. We did have a lot of volume right before it, but that you'd think that'd be only good because then you'd trap them. So what happened here? We have a arrow. It's not really a lower high. It's a triangle bar. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just a random stop. And on the smaller time frame, you're going to get more of those. Okay, here's another one of those arrows on up bar, and we just can't trade under it. We try to trap these guys, and we can't trade under it. So that one maybe is still valid, but didn't turn into anything. Again, these blue boxes seem to work pretty well, as long as you know the direction. But then, in the same sense, so do the stars that are in the right position. Notice if they're up here at resistance, they're not going to work. But if they're at in the right position at the bottom channel, these are all going to work, as long as it's bullish or you're at support. And then same goes for the diamonds. Out of position, probably going to fail. In position, probably going to work. Signs of aggression need to be positioned correctly. Star in position. Well, right. So if you're focused and you can execute quite fast, you can trade the smaller time frame. And look like pre-market, it works even better in London. But look how pre-market, so it's bullish here. So okay. This fails, the trap fails, right? And then purple bar diamond goes higher. So you might have missed that because it's not as clear here as it is on the higher time frame because there's so many bars. But so even if you took that stop and missed the long, as long as you didn't freak out, what you could see is as you got up to the high, so this is a high, that's a new high, right? So I don't know where you have to draw the volume here if it really matters. Yeah, okay, good. It doesn't. There's your VPOC off the high. You want to get volume below that as well as below. So we want a little bounce here. And we want this volume to not be at the low. Yeah, good. It's at the high. So now it's bearish. Once you've gotten this underneath both of those lines, now it's bearish. Now I need a bearish signal, which is a trap or a yellow box or an orange bar or a star down or a diamond. Right there, diamond. That might be good. Is that a trap? It's probably good enough. I don't know if it works, but... Oh, it made a new high. You can't do it on a new high. It's got to be a lower high. That's right. So no. So that just doesn't trigger. Okay, so then that's a new high. Do we once again get underneath? Oh, volume at the low. So this is going to chop. So you could take this, but your target's down here. Right there. So I'm out of the market there. And then I'm now looking for longs. And that's a long. With a trapped seller below it. But that's the open. I mean, I'm not going to trade the open, but that's how you would do it. Ooh, that would have failed. Yeah, that's the problem with trading the open, is you're going to get shitty price action. So this is interesting because here on the high, this is kind of cool. So on here, wave to the high on this tiny time frame. VPOX here, wave off the high. VPOX here. So if you can get volume and price on a non-purple bar below the lower one, which happens here. Oh, here, actually. Then a sell back in position, which would be here. This one doesn't quite reach the top of the channel, so this one's not. But this one's valid for a sell. Yep. Cool. But like I said, you'd have to be pretty quick to do that at the open. Now, I'm looking for stacked or parallel boxes. That's not the first time I've seen this work, where blue fails, then yellow works. That seems to be pretty common. Like this. See how they're like mirrored? There's a yellow one, and then there's a blue one that shares that space. And the direction is up. So you don't take this, but that location now has a trap short. And so this becomes a long. Interesting. Okay, see that sometimes there's just one of them, and then you'd need to have another reason to get short there. It's a good trigger for those volume trapped volume trades, but other than that, okay, here we go. So parallel, price is going lower highs, so you take the short. So it's just a scalp. Now it's technically a higher low too. So do I need to know for sure that volume is trapped? That could be. And it is. Volume's trapped, so you don't take this, you take this. Okay. Wow, tricky. That might only be the case for the smaller time frame. This is all pretty much balance. There's just one of them here. Oh, are these stacked? These are. They made a new high. I don't think we want that. I want it to be consolidation. Blue, yellow, blue. So stacked blue ones, right on top of one another, in a clearly bullish environment. And once again, star blue, diamond blue, yellow blue. So trap a seller, put in a momentum signal. Okay, that's helpful. Oh, here, this is interesting too. So down here, we put in a low. So where was volume? To the low. Ah, above it. Interesting. And then is this the volume's at the low here too? No. So this should have set up for buys on the lows. Right there. That should be a buy. Yeah. Okay. But this buy, so what I'm surprised about is that this actually worked by itself. Is it because of the double arrows maybe? I'm not sure about that one. I'm just surprised that oh, it's a trap. It's a trap back in with the volume anomaly. Those work a lot. So it has nothing to do with the blue square there. That would have worked without the blue square. Oh, here's stacked yellow ones. Yellow, and then right underneath it, another yellow, and that one fails. Is it bullish? No. Okay, so here's a good example where it didn't work. So what's different here? It made a new low. Is this a new low? Yep. Trap back in. So don't take them in. Okay, so if I'm facing a trap, I don't want to take it into that. That makes sense because the trap should work more often than not in balance. Okay. Tricky. So once we're in balance, these momentum signals are going to work like 50% of the time, if not less. Right? Like this one works, but all the rest fail because we're basically balancing. You need momentum for those to work. I knew that before. See here, star and diamond followed by blue goes. So what about this one where they're trapped? Okay, so it has a pink diamond but no star, no red diamond. And that one doesn't work. This one's just triangle up arrow. I mean triangle up box. And then this one is nothing here. And then the box, and that does nothing. So it seems like it helps if the bar right before it had some aggression. Oh, yeah, here for sure. That might be the only way I can take it in balance. And see here, no aggression doesn't work. Aggression, yellow works. Oh, that's relatively simple. Like I said, with a smaller time frame, you see more bars, so you can the chances of finding interesting things is higher. But you're also going to see more stops, so you might misunderstand things. So this one's purple bar, pink bar. That becomes a pivot, and then they give this. This must be bullish. Yeah. So once it's bullish, they just work, even without trapping anybody. If it's not bullish, like this is like balance. Now, this one will not work, but this one will because it's got a star by. Looks like stars in particular tend to trapping stars in particular tend to send them. See, there's nothing here, so it must be bearish. Yep. And here, star yellow. So even if this was bullish before, yeah. See, so you get a big bullish momentum move. Oh, and it was buy volume at the top. Buy volumes at the high. So that really helps. And what's interesting here is we didn't actually close the bar that closed below with volume below was purple, but yet this guy still works as a short because they trapped this one. Okay. Bearish, so that's just going to work no matter what. Trap. So, yeah, that one just barely worked. Oops. Let's see. No stack there. That's going lower. That's not quite the same. Oh, so bullish, pullback, trapped seller, and he fails. So was volume stuck at the highs? No. It was down here. Surprised that didn't work. Maybe because it's pink? And then this one fails too. Sometimes they just don't work. I guess it wasn't that bullish. So like here, and this is the same exact setup. Bullish impulse move, slight pullback, blue. There's no star here, but slight pullback, blue square, breaks down, blue square, breaks down. So again, where's the volume? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So this guy trapped this buyer up here. These big volume buyers got trapped, and so these stop. All the buys stop working. The star too stops working, and instead the lower highs are the way to go, especially if they have arrows, stars, or diamonds. Okay, that does make sense. See, this one will work because it's bearish. They don't stack very often. You definitely don't see that happen very often, where it's like two in a row. Okay, I'm sure these guys are trapped too. Yep. Right here. So once you get this guy above both of them with a VPOC above both of these purple lines, all these sells are going to stop working because sellers are trapped down here. And so now you're looking for buy signals. Okay. At least that still works. Because that's like bread and butter of my... That's the only reversal trade I'll take. And like I said, I just did it wrong today. I thought I saw it. What I thought I saw wasn't there. I missed it by just a couple points, and it matters. It was like equal to the low, but it wasn't under the low. Okay, I don't think I missed any there. Yeah, diamond followed by box does not seem as good as star followed by box. And the diamonds mean that the other side had a lot of volume, so that's probably why. So like here, this diamond indicates that there's a lot of volume on this bar. See that? All the volume is up here. And as a result, it's really hard to get underneath him, even with momentum. Okay, so that actually might make it less likely to work. All right, let's see if that's the case on this one. This is back to Friday. Now let's go back to 24 tick. And the other thing I'm going to look for is those green extension lines. I want to see if they act consistently as magnets. And then second of all, if they don't, what happens? Does price tend to come back to it or not? So I'm looking for those boxes. Okay, so here's one, bearish, lower high, and it reverses. Is volume stuck at the lows? Nope, it's way up here. What about volume off the low? Nope, not stuck. So why didn't this... Oh, but there's volume there, right behind it. So the volume is right next to it. And it does produce an extension, but it's purple. So they just ran into... They got absorbed. That's why that didn't work. Oh, and you know what? That means when there's a diamond on a bar with a box, it might actually not work very often. Because, again, the diamonds with the diamonds inside of the bars mean that the previous bar had a lot of volume, and yet we're trying to trap them. But that may not work in the same way as these boxes do. Okay, so see, this one fails too. There's no star behind it, and now we have we dropped above? Let's see, to the low. That's the one. Have we gotten above that? Not with a bullish bar. It's not pink. It's a pink bar that got above it right here. Yet it still doesn't work. Interesting. So that maybe even a pink bar getting above. Oh yeah, and then it fails. All right. So for these, they might not work quite as well even after pink bars during this consolidation. All by themselves, which is why I've been waiting for two of them, and that probably makes sense. So here now it's bullish. Now we've trapped sellers, right? So there must be volume down to the lows. Oh no, volume's at the highs. Oh, that's not the low. The low's over here. The volume is here. We got above it here. Now the green bars and the stars up are going to start working, and so this has nothing to do with the blue box. It's because it's a star. Okay. That's the problem with having so many signals, is sometimes you got bars with multiple signals. You don't know what's causing it to go off. So here's one with a diamond, and note it gets stopped out by like a point, and then it keeps going. So yeah, I might avoid bars with diamonds and boxes, at least the red and white diamonds. That might be consistent. I'm not totally sure. I don't see any high volume green extensions anywhere, or the yellow rectangles. So, okay, what about this yellow box? Let's see. All right, so it's bearish. So where is the high? The high is here, so this is the way to the high. We have not gotten underneath. It's got an arrow on it. This is the high, and we wouldn't know where the off the high volume is, but I'd say before it was here, right? So off the high would have been this. This one. Okay, so did we get it? Did we get it here? No. Why did this work? It's a new high. It's a trap. That's interesting. So it's trapping back in with the momentum signals. Both of the momentum signals are going off here. And then we get a stacked one right here. So I would think this is the better entry. Yeah. Okay. So maybe with the arrows, they might actually be extra heavy, especially at the apex. But for sure, as long as that works, star, box, lower. That alone is pretty powerful, even without this. But having the two of them, I think, makes it better. Okay, no green extension lines, no green extension lines. This is potentially a squeeze point if we can make it above it. That's what that says. There's that absorption signal to the downside. So buyers got absorbed here and then they broke over it. So that now becomes support. And that's the low, I believe. Okay, so here's another one. This one came after a star down. So, oh, we trapped all the sellers. We trapped the sellers right here. So I probably wouldn't take that, and it's purple. I think it worked a little bit, but I don't think I should be taking those. Higher low with the diamond outside is a volume anomaly. That's good. Volume anomaly followed by that. Oh, at support. It probably has nothing to do with the box. It's just yeah, there's momentum there and the location's right. Okay. So that just gives me another way to get into that trade. There's another one. It didn't quite reach it though. But that's another pullback into this support. No green lines. No green extension lines. No big volume overnight. Okay, so star down, blue box. You'd think you'd get higher. They get absorbed. Does that become important pivot-wise? Notice this is really choppy, and it seems not to work very well by itself. Now, the second one should work. This should be a long. Parallel bars in a choppy environment should be going higher. Yeah! Okay, so now let's see. Does this become support? Because it had this absorption here. They absorbed the buyers. Buyers got over it. You'd think now they're trapped. There we go. There's a green extension line. So that's a big seller. High volume seller at the high. Yep, so that puts that there. So, oh, that means that those followed by an orange bar might actually be pretty strong. Yeah. I hadn't thought of that. So the green lines. Oh, wait, let me think of this through. It's a seller, right? So big seller followed by a volume shift lower. That might be a good setup. The rectangle and the green extension line that gets taken out by an orange bar might actually be pretty strong. Let's see if that's consistent. Okay, so this is a pivot. That's a higher low, purple bar, green bar. If it's bullish, that's going to work 60% of the time. It does not come back to this absorption point. It comes back to the apex that got broken. So that is what we call a supernova trade. And that usually extends heavy. Yep. There's a potential squeeze point if we can get under it. They can't. Oh, star down, volume anomaly down, followed by that. Now that is interesting because that ends up working. Where is the volume? Ah, yep. And at the high here too, I bet. Yep. So once we get under the volume, those start to work. Those yellow ones start to work. Okay, here's another absorption point. Does that end up bouncing the market? And there's another one of these, but no green bar here. So this is a delayed bounce. There's another one. No orange bar, no green bar. Okay. So this, you'd think, would be support now. Yep. So once you get over these blue ones and they come back and bounce off of it, purple bar, green bar, purple ball star, maybe even blue squares should be good. Here's another one. That's on an up bar. I don't know if that's going to work as support. Let's see. Right here. It does not. It does not. So it needs to be, yeah, on a down bar. And that makes more sense. They're selling into it and they're absorbing it. They go lower. It probably works better when they overshoot it a little bit. And then now these guys, see this? Heavy seller at the lows gets trapped. Heavy sellers at the lows gets trapped. Does this create support? I know it creates a magnet, just like it did here. But does this create support? Ah, not right away. They try, they reject. Oh, this had a ton of volume. So they did try. But it's not necessarily going to hold. I mean, that's just the way the market works. Oh, interesting. So then the next buy signal doesn't work. When this doesn't hold, that becomes resistance. Okay. Hold on. Let me mark that off. I wonder how long that continues to be the case. So it's right here. How long does that stay relevant? It's resistance here. We get a trap back into this, but no apex. Resistance. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So if it fails to hold a support, it'll be resistance on the way. That makes sense. It's a big seller. He's going to support his position. No squares. There's a blue square all by itself after a purple background. Oh, but that's a trap back in, so that's a good trade as it is, even without the box. They run into this again, but they print one bar above it and then roll over. What's up with that? So where's the volume here? Up there. Up there, the highs. Wow. So they put volume up above it, trying to bounce off of that seller, and they lose it. Ouch. Yeah, and so that's probably pretty bearish. Yeah. So that failing to hold this could set up some pretty good reversals. Okay. Cool. Purple bar, green bar gets an extension. This guy gets trapped. Okay, there's another one. We just bounce right off of it with a blue box, and a green bar. Purple bar into it seems to be potentially strong if it's followed. Okay, so purple bar star, anything like that in these green areas is probably going to be good. But if we give that up, is it resistance? There we go. Is it resistance now? Yes! Yes, it is. And then we try to take it. Do they give it up? Oh, they hold it that time. Purple bar, right into it. Okay. Purple bar, blue box. That seems to work. So let me guess. I bet volume is at the lows here. Yeah. Yeah. So and then here, where's volume here? At the low. So the sellers push really hard down here and they can't hold the market down. And so I bet volume is at the low here too. Yeah. So once you get above that, you know that this area is probably going to be support. And so this guy is good. Wow, all by itself. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So they can be useful all by themselves. And the purple bar coming before it, if it's in a high volume area, or probably even any support, is going to be useful. Okay, I'll watch for that. Okay, we get under that area, we get another absorption point, and that probably becomes resistance, right? Yep. Parallel, sell. So see this is resistance. Buyers got absorbed, creates resistance. Get like 3 waves down. They come up to approach it. They tag it and they turn around. That's probably sellable. Yep. Okay, so here's another set of boxes. So what happens? We come into yesterday's. This is yesterday. We come into. Oh, this is the actual POC of Monday. So we just came into a high volume node. This is the low. There's a trapped seller down here. Yeah, so they got volume to develop above these, right here and here. And now pullbacks with signs of aggression should be bought, especially it looks like blue boxes. So this guy you'd think would be a pretty good buy. It did not make a new low. Oh, that fails. That's interesting. That fails. Did I draw that right? Oh, are they not together? It doesn't always work if they're not together. Let me try this one more time. They're not together. They're not together. Okay, so when they're not together, it can cause it to not work. Okay. I knew that. All right, so then, okay, so this is interesting. So we got this one that gets trapped back into and then creates an extension, and then you get a lower high with another one. And that creates a good sell too. Where is the volume on the new low? Way up high, nice. Okay, not together. No concern of a reversal. That becomes strong. Cool. Now if only I could execute these, because they work. It's just a matter of taking them even though you don't think they're going to work. Okay, so here's the heavy seller. Acts as a magnet. It reverses with a purple bar. And that's resistance with a yellow box. Nice. So once you've reversed there, those yellow boxes. Oh, and it's got a star before it to the other direction. They trapped a buyer. Scalp down. Let's mark that off because I bet you this acts as resistance in the future. And if we get over it, it's probably support. Purple bar, green bar with a volume anomaly above the voodoo range. That's super strong. Hit a nice little push. They don't make it to that. Oh, wow. They come back in here and they can't beat it. There's another area of heavy selling. This one's big. They can't get under it. They try to reject that earlier. Oh, they do. See, pink bars or purple bars that extend beyond them and then reverse with orange bars is really strong. Wow. And then purple bar, green bar should be good too. So let's see what happens down here. Oh, and there's the yellow box again in the exact right spot. After the rejection, lower high, yellow box, sell. Gets through it. So now this is resistance. Do we get pink bar, orange bar? Look at that. Pink bar, star, lower. Whoa. Cool. Okay, lower high, yellow box. That should get a scalp. Yep. Neat. Neat. Okay, purple bar, volume anomaly, volume shift up. That's bullish, right? If you don't catch it there, you want to get a pullback. You don't want to take shorts anymore. Even pink bar, orange bar is not going to work. Even though it's got a momentum shift attempted, these guys are trapped. Right? And if you have to, you can draw the volume and see it. I bet you anything. Yeah, that guy's stuck. So, don't short. It goes through. Oh, okay, it's coming up here on pink bars. If this gives an orange bar, it probably is a sell. Okay, good. They don't. Oh, they just rip right through it. Pink bar, orange bar. Does that sell? It does. Okay, they try to get under it. They save it at the voodoo range level with a star, and it rejected the yellow box. Dude, that pattern just keeps happening. That's neat. Okay, through the area again. This one's got to be done now, I would think, after all this chopping in there. They try to get up here. They do. Pink bar, orange bar? No. There it is, orange bar. Does it reject? That one fails. Okay, so when it's not right next to each other, when it's 3 bars, not 2 bars, it's not necessarily going to work. But look how this gets left behind. And now this is going to be bullish. Higher low. Purple bar, volume anomaly. Is that the low? No. Oh, interesting. So now this is today. That's overnight. So this got just stuck up here. And we've already seen this. And so remember, this was the heavy sell area. They try to bounce off it. I believe they go through it. And now you'd expect it to act as resistance. And it does. They go all the way down to the low. Purple bar at the voodoo range level, green bar. They try to save it with this momentum move, and they fail. Oh, wow, another one. Maybe they won't. And it looks like it's going to work, right? Like, that's usually golden. But look, they can't get anything other than a purple bar to cross the voodoo range and the volume anomaly to the upside, and it's over. Yeah, so once you see this, now any pullback is buyable. That's it, star. Buy. Yeah. Man, I was not aggressive enough. I saw it, but I didn't have it figured out this morning. Okay, so this is that same area. I bet that does not hold because it's been traded through so many times. Yeah, so eventually you need to get rid of them. You can't hold those. Oh, and then they shift it up. So I bet anything now this is the new pivot. I don't know if this one is still. Well, it's working here. Yellow bar gets broken. They get under it. Do they reject it with a pink bar, orange bar? Orange bar. Yep, another scalp. That seems to work really often. Okay, here's another one. Right? Another one right here. Okay, so box, that might work. Not much. Do we get a pink bar, orange bar? Oh, there's another box. That should work. Yep. Yellow box, orange bar. That should sell. Yeah. So they have to be at the right location. You have to have heavy sellers, and then momentum signals down will work as a scalp over and over again. So it's the location. And see, these are not located in the right place, and they're going to get beat. And then that's what propels the market higher. Is these momentum traders getting stuck. Okay, they get above it. Now it's now it's support. So see how this guy's no longer going to work? And now the opposite, the blue bars should work. Here's another one. So now let's shift this. Here, let me erase. Another heavy seller. They'd have to get under that and pin to pink bar, orange bar for it to fail. And it just never comes back. Okay, another one. No pink bar. Pink bar. That might be enough. Pink bar star, is that enough? No. Pink, that's the one I took. Okay, well, now looking back at it, it actually makes sense. But I think it has to be an orange bar. You need to get volume to shift underneath it, not just aggression. Okay, here's another one. And so now that it's back and forth here, it's probably done. Once they've wiggled around it, I think, and then you get a new one, I think you have to shift it. So now that one would need to have pink bar, orange bar right there. Oh, it's got to be at the level. Well, this one is at the level. This one just fails. There was just that much volume, that much pressure that they did it here and it just didn't work. Okay. Well, I don't feel so bad about that now. And then here's another one. Pink bar, no orange bar here. So if we come up here again, here, let me erase the lines because I don't think these are good for more than one. So if these are the sellers, oh, there's sellers down here too. So if we can come up through that, print a pink bar, and then print an orange bar, shifting volume down, this exact pattern, shift it over here, it should work. And then if you want to be conservative, you can wait for the yellow box. Oh, you know what? Let me check on the smaller time frame. Yeah, pink bar, orange bar, yellow box. Look at that. Wow. Okay, so it's just a matter of getting the time frame right. It's going to be there. It's just a matter of getting the time frame and the location. But without, yeah, pink bar, yellow box, lower. And I believe that was it. Now, I don't have these heavy seller signals on a smaller time frame because it's just, there's already too much. But it's right there. Yep. Oh, pink bar star. And that one worked too. Where's the pink bar, orange bar in here, right? Yeah, we already saw that one worked. So let me see. See this one, pink bar, orange bar, but I don't think there's any heavy sellers there. There aren't. There are. They can't get under it. Yeah. So you have to be careful, make sure you're actually breaking under it. Here, look. It's not. I don't think that the orange bar shifted volume below this. I don't think so. See? It happened after them. Yeah, so it's got to be that exact pattern. Here, let me check this one. On the smaller time frame, this might have played out. When does that start? Here. Pink bar above, star down gets a scalp. Pink bar, orange bar, sell. Whoa! It's literally like 9 times out of 10 that works. It's just a matter of finding it on the right time frame. That's fun. I gotta admit, that's pretty fucking cool. Now, this, I wouldn't think this will work because on the bigger time frame it doesn't. You need the orange bar by itself is not enough. It's got to be a pink bar above it. And then a volume shift. See, I don't think that'll work because there's no, I don't know. Yeah, you need a pink bar above it like that, and then you need an orange bar. So that just doesn't trigger. That just doesn't do anything. You don't lose any money. It just doesn't happen. That might be good enough. Pink bar, yellow box. Yep. Yeah. So it can be either one. The yellow box, the momentum shift, or the volume shift. Either one works. Like a lot. Let me go back further. But like all day that was working. I have not seen those heavy volume signals come in so often. I think it's, like I said, it's relative volume that it's looking at. So I think it's because volume is just low. But it's like even in low volume, these are freaking working. Look at this. This one does not. It's early. So when they're early, they get broken. But when they're on time, it gets you a scalp. Does it signal right here too? No, that's it. That's it. Okay. Yeah, you really, it's like you get one shot. Here, there's one here. Right here. Do we get one here? Where is it? Right there. No pink bar, no orange bar. Right there. That's below it. Pink bar, orange bar, and that works. So it just has to act as resistance. Okay. I just can't believe how often that pattern plays out. It's like 19 out of 20 times it happens. So you get a big volume seller, you get exhaustion above it, and then volume shift or momentum shift lower. And it actually gives you like 15, 20, 30 points. Okay, so that's where the big volume is. We need a pink, it can't just take the orange bar, you've got to be patient. Wait for them to exhaust above it with pink bars, and then get a volume shift or a momentum shift below it. So nothing there. Nope, that's the wrong direction. Yeah, that one. So that's interesting. If it doesn't trigger and you get above it, the exact opposite signal works for the upside. Cool. And like I said, I don't even have the inverse volume. I don't have the big volume buyer. I don't have that turned on, but I could. And I might get more buy signals. In fact, that might be a good idea. I might. I hate having so many freaking things to look at, but the fact this is working so well, even to the short side. I mean, I guess I've got plenty of buy signals, but I don't have a lot of really repeatable shorts, and this one is pretty good. Now, this is interesting because this happened at support. Big seller at support. Okay, no short signal. That's good. Oh, does it just not come back? Oh, yeah, here we go. Comes back to it. Does it bounce? Pink bar, yellow bar. See ya. Off. Wow. Pink bar. Star. Oh, we're moving. Pink bar, momentum down. Pink bar, momentum down. See, it's just got to touch it. Wow. Oh, my God. Shit. And then lower highs if it continues. Lower highs. Lower highs. Yeah, if you catch it right, that's pretty powerful. Here, let me see what's happening right now. Chart in, because we have a potential setup here to the short side. It's got to exhaust above it. Okay, erase lines. I gotta go pretty soon here. What time is it? It's fucking 3 o'clock already. Sorry. I'm on Pacific time, so it's this just got long kind of fast. All right, so we need to exhaust above it, roll over, volume shift down. So I can't take this. It's got to be above it. It's the same exact pattern, but it has to be at location. Or we have to break down and then get that signal there. And I don't think that counts as a breakdown. This might. Eek. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, actually. Like I said, it's easy in retrospect, but in real life, it needs to look like this. Which this is, but it's got to be up here or else after the breakdown. I don't know if this counts as a breakdown. It might. This might count as a breakdown, in which case that would be valid. And then the other one is the yellow square down. Would work too. We'll see. We'll see. I'll give it a minute, but like I said, it's Globex. It's so damn slow. And I got some stuff to do, so. But at least I mean, I'm definitely glad that I figured that out. Oh, the one I forgot to look at the delta. That's something I need to look at more. This reminded me that like when there's a very unusually high delta, is the result of that support or resistance or both get shifted. I'm thinking the answer is yes. Damn, I wish I would have figured this out last night. Because it triggered so often today. Usually I see those green extension lines like once a day. Today we got like 5 of them, and I was not interpreting them correctly. Or I mean I was, but I wasn't catching. I didn't know about this one. So we'll see. We shall see. Yeah, see this might have already counted as a breakdown, in which case it's not gonna exhaust up here. And I don't really know what the for that delayed setup. Oh, you know what? I think we did figure this out, but where is the volume to the high? Because if we've already beat the volume to the high, it'd be this. Oh, at the highs and the volume off the high. Let's do all of this. They're not perfect, but we did definitely get a seller below it. What about on the higher time frame? See, it gets once you start adding all these things, it gets so busy. I really don't want all that there. Oh yeah, we definitely did get below it. So maybe it is ready. Maybe it is ready. Traded slightly above it. They've got an aggressive buyer trying to buy this, but they'd have to close it up here for that star to be valid. But you can see the last star got beat badly on this time frame. Oh, you know what? Let me see the higher time frame. Do I have it set up on here? I don't. I wonder if it would be helpful to set it up on the higher time frame. Like I said, I don't want too many signals. It's already really busy. But on the higher time frame, I might be able to find some good support resistances if I see those big volume points. Because like I bet a lot of these where they have pink bar, orange bar at the top probably started with the volume shift. I don't even have the yellow boxes in here, but I bet you, like here, I bet you anything there's a yellow box there. Huh. Because it's got a momentum shift, but not necessarily a volume shift. I don't know. Like I said, I've got plenty of signals as it is. But that makes me curious of what that might look like on the higher time frame. Oh, you know what? I should see if it works on ES. Oh, I don't have it on ES. I don't have the high volume on ES. Well, I know on NQ there's one here, so let's see. Did we get pink bar, orange bar? But it didn't. That was after. I think it's like here. I believe I have the boxes. I do. I just don't have the high volume. So I wouldn't know where to look for it. I'll think about it. I might have to do like another chart. That might work. Maybe I'll do like another chart on like use like a profile chart or like a point and figure chart or something. Like use this and add the high volume indicator here, and then when it happens, like I don't know, add another signal. So, I don't know. I'll think about it. Like I said, I don't want to make it any more. It's already so damn crowded. I don't want to add signals that I'm not able to interpret fast enough. See this pink bar, orange bar, and then up, and then orange bar. Yeah, that's probably a sell. Let's fucking sell it.
Order filled.
Let's do it. I don't know if it's right, but we're below it, right? This might be wrong, but let's this might be wrong because we're below it. We'll try it. It's okay. Like I said, I think this counts as a breakdown. So the stop goes 1 point above 52, so 52.75, give or take. I guess we can just put it high. We'll just put it like a point above high day. Yeah, 52.75 is fine. Let's see if this works. So I'm short on this bar with a stop here. And again, the idea being that we've already rejected this. What I don't know is if we have to come back up here and collect liquidity first. But this is basically the signal I want. And they got behind it and then they gave me the secondary signal, so I don't know what more I can ask for other than waiting to see if later on, 3 hours later, it comes up here and rejects, but I'm pretty sure this is good enough. Let's see if I can get this short to work. And as we saw, it really is primarily a scalp, but sometimes it's the start of a new momentum wave. So let's see. I'll give it a minute. But I gotta get going though. I might have to stop the stream and just leave it going. Let's see how it goes here for a minute. Let's see if at least we can tell if it's gonna work. But then I might at least mute out. I guess I could leave it running if people are curious if it works, but you can just look back at 11:22 at, Globex open if it went lower. But if it trades to 11.753, it's going to stop me out. And like I said, the truth is that the better way this sets up is with the pink bar up above the volume and then the orange or the yellow shifting down into it. But we've seen this. I saw this at least once where it broke down underneath it and then rejected out of it with these signals too. So I think it's still valid. And yeah, I'm willing to take it. Only one way to learn to do it, and that's just to do it over and over again. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. My stream, what's it called? Twitter feed is still super bearish though. So that's not good. You don't really want to, you don't want to be going with the trend, with everybody else. We'll see. Like I said, it's not recommended that you really trade this like thin Asia price action anyway. Not the best time to demonstrate this, and I may not have this located in quite the right place. I don't want to see that. So they may just come up and run my stop and then re-trigger it just as I have to leave. Let's see. Let's see what they do. If they're going to stop me, I just want them to stop me quick because I don't really care if they stop me, but I want to learn from it. I don't want to sit here for an hour. Well, I can't. I got to go. So let's see. If they're going to come and stop me, that's fine. And then, like I said, I would look for the exact same signal up here and I'd take it again. But I don't know how often this re-offer works. I'm not sure about that. But we saw over and over again when it happens up here, if it does set up there, it works. It looks like they're coming for my stop already. I'm not going to bail though. Like that. You don't learn anything from bailing. I'll be happy with a 10-point move. it would actually put me back to green on the day, which would be cool. I mean, it doesn't really count. The day is over already. It's a new day now, but like I said, I just want to see if I've got this pattern figured out. And obviously, just one result doesn't tell you that, but yeah, it'd be nice if it worked. One way or another, I believe I got it. I have it figured out more or less, but I'm just not sure what happens when it breaks down here without the pink bar above it. I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't know how often this works. But the fact that we got pink bar, orange bar, and they traded right behind it and shot back under it with a momentum shift lower and another volume shift lower, like I don't know how much closer that can be to perfect, other than being above the resistance point and exhausting. This is basically getting under the exhaustion, under the resistance, and then trying to break back into it and exhausting out of it. And so I would expect a pullback. And again, where do we want it to go? I want it to go back to these heavy volume areas, because we maybe end up being buyers there, but we also could get more selling happening underneath that. If we can get volume and momentum shifting underneath these, we could get something like that. I don't know. That's my thinking anyway. It might be wrong. Notice on the higher time frame, which counts more, we did get that signal of volume and momentum shifting higher. So if it's still bullish, you just buy these, right? In which case I'm going to be stopped out. So the only way you can really take this trade is if you think it might be done going up for the time being. So that's the problem here. Is that it's so bullish that there's so many shorts trapped underneath here that getting a short to work is going to be tough. So I'll program it into the ES chart and see if it might work on ES too. I don't know if it does. I don't have a program there. I've never watched it there, but it's probably a slightly different pattern on ES anyway. ES doesn't have as many rotations, so oftentimes with ES it'll be like it just tests it once and then rolls over, and then NQ it'll have to like go over it a little bit, go under it a little bit, test into it and break down. But I can. It doesn't take me that long to program it in. Now that I know what to do, and so I can program it in and see what it looks like, and then decide whether or not it's worth keeping on the ES chart. And what I might do is program it into a higher time frame chart, and then just refer to it to find the levels, but then obviously trade off the lower one. And then I could actually move these to a different time frame too, so that the green and the yellow boxes don't get so distracting. And I just have to have a third time frame to watch, or have like a audio signal to let me know that it occurred. That works too. I don't know. I'll think about it. They don't usually happen this often. You don't usually get so many of them. And so I don't really know what it means when you get these big clusters of them. It may mean that it's not bearish at all. Because the examples we saw, there was like one of these, and then it tried to get above it, broke down below, right? And that's where you could get short. Whereas here we've printed, on the way up, we printed 3 in a row. And I don't remember seeing that. At least not recently. So it could be that it's just not that useful at the end of the day because there's too much volume at the end of the day. It could be that it's not that useful when there's low volume. But although we saw it working earlier today, so I don't know. Let's see. Okay, well I gotta run. I got some errands to run. I'm just gonna leave this trade going. It's okay. I've got my stop in. If they stop me out, no big deal. If they don't, I've got my target set. So if they want to pay me, that's fine too. I'll learn from it either way. I'll come back and review it. But yeah, hopefully you guys learned something. I definitely did. And I will be watching for this pattern in the future, and we'll see if we can at least make it work. If not today,